Assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you to another session of Ask Dr. Saleem. In this series, we take your questions and we post them to Dr. Saleem, whether it be general questions about any of the previous sessions or general questions related to Quran, Hadith, Islam in general. And you can ask your questions in either English or Urdu, your language of preference. The answers will be given in English unless specified otherwise. To ask questions, you raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand options, or you can put them in the chat. And if you'd like to remain anonymous, you can send them directly to me in the chat. And with that, we'll start in the order in which I received the questions. But in case there are a lot of questions, we will limit the questions to one question per participant until we move on to the second round of questions. So we'll start off with our first question of the day. The question asks, can a Muslim man marry a non-Muslim girl and live in a non-Muslim majority area? Is it allowed, as Ghamidi Sahab says, it was allowed after Muslims had power?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So you see, the foremost thing that you have to understand is that there is a social aspect and there is a legal aspect to it. More than the social aspect, I would say the aspect that relates to the essence of religion. And that is that normally a person should marry strictly among people who have a lot of regard for monotheism and who are practicing monotheists. So we know that Christians, they are basically monotheists. So marriage with the people of the book has been allowed as such. But this allowance, of course, carries in itself a lot of challenges, I would say, and a lot of, I would also recommend certain elements of danger also. So if a person has to make this decision, he has to understand that this is primarily a concession given. Otherwise, the purport of religion is that strict monotheistic following people should be married to. In case you have to take a decision that you marry someone from the Christian community, then the context of the verse in which we find this concession to be mentioned is that it should be a country in which Muslim traditions are dominant, so that the bride who comes home, the woman who comes home, she lives under the subservience of these dominant traditions, and so that the children who are raised in the family, they also don't have a direct impact. So this is more of a recommendation, but as I said, legally, yes, this can happen. Legally, if you ask me legally, I would say yes, you can marry a Christian girl and settle anywhere in the world you like. But if you ask me regarding the essence of religion, I would say that you have to be very careful, because it's a question of living with someone who would be a deviant monotheist, and at the same time also you have a challenge that would be facing by your children. So if these things are taken care of, or maybe you have no other option, then perhaps yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question comes from the chat that is related to one of the previous sessions, and it asks, in a previous session, they asked about how Surah Al-Ma'idah can be a sign for the predecessors of Jesus's nation, and you said that maybe some more research is required to clarify that. If you could please remind if there was a difference in
Yeah.
outcome for that.
So I think I did answer that question in one of our previous sessions, because it was raised in a Quran study session. So I actually answered in the next the week following it. And the word Maida that has been used at the end of Surah Maida, which actually is a request from the disciples of Jesus to send down a table spread, and Jesus actually he actually complied with the request, and he prayed to God to send down a table spread. And then he said, "Takunu lana Eidan li awwalina wa akhirina," which means that it should be something memorable for our earlier generations and for our later generations. So this earlier generations actually refers to the earliest generations of the apostles of Jesus, which of course were present there. And later ones, of course, would mean the ones who come after them. And because this tradition would be handed down to the later generations by word of mouth, so it would become a memorable thing for them as well. So the part of research that I was pointing out, or I was trying to point out, was regarding the connotation of the word awwalin wa akhirin. What exactly is implied by the earlier generations and the later generations? So the answer is the earlier generations refers to the generation of Jesus' disciples themselves. And the later ones, of course, would imply the ones who come later.
Shams Suleiman, you're up next. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. Imam Fry
Walaikum.
stated there is no possibility of more than one interpretation in the Quran. Then why
Mhm.
do we find differences in the interpretation of certain verses even within the Fry school of thought, such as between Ustad Javed Ahmed Ghamidi and Maulana
Mm.
Hasan Islahi? What exactly did Imam Farahi mean by this statement?
So, Ustaz Farai actually meant that the purport of God, that the intent of God is one. So, it's not that the Quran has multiple meanings assigned to it or the verses have multiple meanings assigned to it. That the purport of God or the intention of God is that every verse has one single meaning. But in order to reach that meaning, of course, human beings they make an effort, and so therefore the difference is not because the Quran is ambiguous or the one meaning that was intended by God, was unclear. It is because people, as human beings, when they try to access or reach out to the meaning that was meant by God, they can make mistakes. And Ustaz Farahi actually referred to this by saying that this difference is because of either deficiency in deliberation on the verse or deficiency in knowledge regarding some of the aspects of the verse. So this is like a human error on the part of people. Otherwise, the intent of God was one. So that is what he meant, that la yahtimul Qur'ana illa ta'wilan wahida, that the Quran has only one intent, that is from God.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Hammar Rasul, you're up next. Please go ahead.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saab.
Walaikum.
Dr. Saab, I wanted to ask, we have this driver working for us for many years, and he is a Sunni Muslim. But as we know, there are some families or branches of Sunni Islam which are, they feel a sense of closeness
Right.
or aqidat with the Ahlul Bayt
Yeah.
more than most Sunnis do.
Correct.
And so during 9th and 10th Muharram, this family, gets a lot of food prepared and then distributes it. And so I have been contributing in this practice from my side for many years. But this year he asked Ammi as well, and Ammi refused, saying that, I am afraid that you use the name or you give the food and make the food in the name of Hazrat Imam Hussein and not in the name of God. And so I am wary of giving you money for this. What kind of an approach or reaction should we have towards this practice of distributing food on 9th and 10th Muharram?
I think your mother asked a very pertinent question. I mean, there should be no problem in giving away money if the food is being distributed in the name of God or if it is from God. It's like a charity that you're doing for people who are unable to eat. So the question is very pertinent. It should be asked that the food that they are distributing, is it something that concerns the person of Imam Hussein as such? It's like something being done by dedicating the food to him, which I would not say that your driver would be capable of answering because he's just following a tradition of a lot of other people. So I guess this is something of a call that you'll have to make your own self, or maybe you may find out some more from some more educated Shiites who might know that when they are distributing food on the 10th of Muharram, what exactly they are doing. So I have tried to do this on my part as well, but I have not been successful because we have a lot of confusion and people are not very clear what they're doing. So all they think is that they're doing it something for the Imam. So that makes it dubious for me as well. And I do abstain eating such food as well. But as I said, unless we have 100% clarity, which for so many years I have tried to achieve by asking my Shiite friends, but they have different answers to give, even the scholars.
Thank you very much, Dr.
So in fact, what you have said is exactly what happened when my mother said to him that, I am afraid that this might be the case. He was actually very dumbfounded and he did not say anything. Because like you say, my reading of the situation is the same, that he did not understand the question very well.
Of course.
Whereas Ammi took his silence as, something happening which he did not want to disclose. He was afraid that there was some kind of shirk happening. And so basically we were having this discussion that we should not assume this of a Muslim Sunni, that he would be doing this under
Correct.
these
I mean, so you see, what perhaps is a better practice would be that before the next year's Ashura, maybe more research should be done by finding out from more educated people in this matter, and they should be asked that what exactly is your stance and what do you imply. I mean, there's no problem in distributing food in general for charity, but that has to be, as I said, the food must not be dedicated to any other person, to any other individual except God.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Shabnam, please go ahead, and then we're going to move over to a few chat questions and then come back to the raised hand.
Thank you, Maria. Sir, Alhamdulillah, I have been following Gandhi Saab since more than 1.5 decades. Sir, I have seen a change in his opinions, his views in a few things. Sir, one of them is very popular opinion कि सर लोग उनसे पूछते थे नेल पॉलिश लगा के नमाज हो जाती है तो सर so far as I remember initially he used to say कि आप वुजू करके लगाएं और उसके बाद वो इज्तिहाद करते इन्फर करते थे मसा से कि आप लाइक हम मसा करते हैं तो आप उतनी देर आप उसको कर सकते हैं लेकिन सर फिर अब रिसेंटली जो मैं सुन रही हूँ उनमें तो वो कह रहे हैं कि आप बस वुजू करके लगा ले और उसके बाद आप जब तक आप नहीं लगाई हो या आप वैसे सर मुझे ये दोनों ही दूसरा तो बिल्कुल ही क्योंकि सर इवन मसा की भी जो है एक लिमिट है ना 24 आवर्स या 48 आवर्स 72 आवर्स लेकिन सर जो हम मसा पे भी हम करते हैं दैट इज इन केस ऑफ अशद नीड बहुत जरूरत या शरे यूजर एक होता है तो सर काइंडली आप थोड़ा सा इस पे प्लीज बताएं कि उन्हें कहाँ से इन्फर किया है इन्फर कहाँ से कर रहे हैं वो
so basically you have to understand that this is a matter of ijtihad. In an ijtihad in which you exercise your own opinion matters, opinions they keep changing, they keep evolving, people keep rethinking and people might have different opinions. So there are so many scholars who opine that you have to do wuzu before every namaz, and if you have nail polish on your nails then that wuzu will not be counted. So a very vast majority of scholars they say that if the nail polish has been put on then the next wuzu must be done by taking off the nail polish and then putting it on again. So I think if we have to understand the essence and the spirit of religion, and the Quran has on one occasion marked yuridullahu bikumul yusra wala yuridu bikumul usra, that in matters of worship God intends ease for you and he does not intend any hardship or difficulty. So if we keep this the spirit of the Quran in mind, we should, I think, give relief to people. And personally I think that there is no problem in doing wuzu even on your own nail polish, because you see it becomes part of the nails. And it should be considered as something that has already been, it's just like having skin. So you are just having a new skin on your nails and it becomes part of your I would say body as well. So I think that even I mean going through the hassle of doing wuzu and then putting on your nail polish, okay, that would be one thing that you can do, and there have been occasions on which people have recommended this, but personally I am of the view that this is something which is meant to give ease to people, and that ease should be provided fully. And I think that is something which can only be provided when you give this leverage that a lady can put on the wuzu, I mean she can put on the nail polish and just think that subsequent wuzus can be done over the nail polish, because as I said it becomes just part of your body.
Thank you sir. Right sir, thank you so much sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. We'll move on to a few chat questions and then return back to the raised hands. Our first question asks, it's said in a hadith that there is a piece of land called as Riyad al-Jannah within the Prophet's mosque in Medina, which will be part of paradise in the hereafter. Quran says that this very universe, including the earth, will be converted into paradise. That means this whole earth will become part of the paradise. Does this not contradict the hadith?
No, these are two separate things. The Quran says, Yawma tubaddarul ardu ghayral ardi was samawat, which means that all this stuff that you see, all these multiverses or universes or whatever stuff God has created, it shall be given a new shape to create a new world order. It's like a new world, And that world, of course, will be the world that will be formed on the day of judgment. That will be what we call the hereafter. The hereafter consists of the judgment day, it consists of paradise, it consists of hell. So at least three areas we can identify, maybe there are more as well. So that is what is being said, that the stuff that you see spread out over your head in the form of stars and heavenly bodies, this stuff is going to be converted into a new world, and that new world is the next world. And that next world, as I said, is not just paradise, it has other segments as well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem.
And let me also clarify that this Riyazul Jannah, of course, is just a part of that paradise. So that the Prophet has just said that this space between my pulpit and a certain distance from it is going to be converted. This particular small area, it's not a very large area, it will be converted into a part of paradise. So that he is just signifying that how important it is and how holy it is.
Thank you for that explanation, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks if you could please guide whether this hadith is authentic and what are the rewards for fasting in Ashura. So the hadith says, Abu Qatada radiallahu anh, narrated that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Fast the day of Ashura, for indeed I anticipate that Allah will forgive the sins of the year before it." And it's in Tirmidhi.
So the narrative which is authentically reported in this regard, and as a result of which the Prophet also fasted on the 10th of Muharram, is that when he came to Medina, he asked people that the Jews, they fast on this day. So what is the reason that they fast on this day? And the scholars replied that, well, this is a day in which the Israelites, they were liberated from the shackles of the Pharaoh, and they celebrate this day. It's like a day of liberation for the Israelites, and and this happened on the 10th of Muharram, and therefore they celebrate this. And the Prophet said, well, if the Israelites did this, that we are more akin to it, because we also feel that this is a great favor of God, and we'll also fast on this day. And he further said that if I remain alive for the next year, I'm going to fast on the 9th also, giving his intention that this is a day of thanksgiving. So he never got the chance because he passed away the next year. So yes, the 10th of Muharram is related not to anything with regard to the Karbala tragedy. That's another matter. It has nothing to do with the fast that people keep. In fact, people are misinformed that the fast that they keep is what happened at Karbala. Of course, it never happened in the time of the Prophet. Something that had to happen, let's say 30 or 40 years after the Prophet's demise. How could it have been said to be something holy or a day of fasting in the time of the Prophet? So basically, as I said, this has no relation with the Muharram that we celebrate. That we commemorate as the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. It has to do with the tradition of the Israelites getting liberated from the Pharaoh.
Mariam, can I ask?
Did you want to clarify? Because that was yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Sir, in the hadith that I shared with you, it is said in it that those who fast on this day, their sins will be forgiven for, I think, 1 year or so. So I specifically wanted to ask you about.
I think I would need to check out this narrative. If you could send it to me, I will check out, because I don't find any authentic narrative which says this, what you have said. But I will still double check.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Asad Rindani, you're up next. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr.
Why?
I'm going to intentionally ask this question in Urdu so that the people who are going to listen to this can understand what I'm going to ask. So, Dr. साहब, जब हम कुरान की रोशनी के अंदर फिक्र फराही का जो हमारा एक लेंस है, उसके अंदर जो है हम जितनी भी इस वक्त हमारी जो जिहादी तंजीम है, जो चंदा वगैरह कलेक्ट करती हैं, जिसमें से फसाबा है, जैश मोहम्मद है, जब मैं इनको देखता हूँ और मैं इनको सूरह माइदा की आयत नंबर 33, 34, 35 के अंदर जो है, जब मैं उस तनाजुर में रख के उस लेंस में उनको देखता हूँ, तो मुझे तो ये सब के सब लोग, क्योंकि जो है ये जो हिराबा के मुर्तकब लगते हैं, उसकी वजह ये है कि ये लोग जो हैं جتنی بھی ہماری جہادی تنظیم ہے، یہ سب کے سب جو ہیں اہل تشیعوں کے جو ہے وہ جو قتل میں بھی جو ہے وہ ملوث رہے ہیں ان بم بان کے، اور انہوں نے دے ہیو آل ایکسیپٹڈ دی رسپانسبلٹی ایز ویل. سو اینی بڈی ہو سپورٹس دیم، جن کو چندہ بھی دیتا ہے، تو یہ تو ایڈنگ اینڈ ابیٹنگ کا کیس بھی تو ہوتا ہے نا ان کے اوپر. تو یہ آئی جسٹ وانٹ ٹو انڈرسٹینڈ کہ وین آئی لک ایٹ دس فرام دس ہولسٹک پرسپیکٹو، تو مجھے تو یہ سب کے سب ہرابہ کے مرتکب لگتے ہیں. آئی بلیو کہ ان کو پھر اسی سزا کے تحت جو ہے وی شوڈ انڈائٹ دیم. تھینک یو.
آپ نے چونکہ کہا کہ جواب اردو میں چاہیے، تو دیکھیے میں تو نہیں کہوں گا کہ ہرابہ کا ارتکاب کر رہے ہیں، کیونکہ ہرابہ کا مطلب یہ ہوتا ہے کہ آپ جانتے بوجھتے لا اینڈ آرڈر سچویشن پیدا کریں اور خدا اور اس کے پیغمبر کو چیلنج کر دیں. یہ ہرابہ اس کو کہتے ہیں. جب یہ لوگ یہ کام کر رہے ہوتے ہیں تو یہ اس کو اپنی دینی تعبیر سمجھ کے کر رہے ہوتے ہیں، جو ظاہر ہے درست نہیں ہے. آپ اس کو کہیں گے یہ تعبیر کی غلطی ہے، یہ انٹرپریٹیشن کی غلطی ہے. اس کے نتیجے میں ان کو یہ اندازہ نہیں ہے کہ یہ بہت فساد کریٹ کر رہے ہیں. اس کے نتیجے میں جو کچھ بھی یہ کر رہے ہیں وہ شریعت کے خلاف ہے. یہ سب باتیں تو ہم کہیں گے کہ یہ خلاف شریعت ہے، یہ خلاف دین ہے، اس کی جو بنیاد ہے وہ بالکل صحیح نہیں ہے. لیکن چونکہ دیکھیں وہ استدلال کر رہے ہیں، وہ اس جگہ پہ نہیں کھڑے، سرکشی کی جگہ پہ نہیں کھڑے. وہ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ بھی جہاد جب اسٹیٹ نہیں کر رہا ہوتا تو فرد فرد کرتے ہیں، اور پھر وہ یہ کہتے ہیں کہ یہ صحابہ کے کو یوں سمجھ لیجئے کہ شب و شتم کرتے ہیں یا گالم گلوچ کرتے ہیں. اور یہ روایت یہ کہتی ہے کہ جو پیغمبروں کے ساتھ ہی معاملہ کرے اس کے ساتھ فلاں فلاں معاملہ کریں. تو وہ ایک تعویل کے جھمیلے میں پڑ جاتے ہیں، جس سے ظاہر ہمیں اتفاق نہیں ہے، کیونکہ وہ روایت بھی ضعیف ہے، وہ معاملہ بھی سارا جو ہے وہ محل نظر ہے. لیکن جب تک ایک آدمی استدلال کر رہا ہو تو اس کو آپ یہ تو کہہ سکتے ہیں کہ آپ ایک ڈیوینٹ ہیں. اس کی مثال آپ ایسی سمجھیے، جو ہمارے احمدی بھائی ہیں وہ استدلال کر رہے ہوتے ہیں جب بھی وہ یہ کہتے ہیں کہ مرزا صاحب جو ہیں وہ آخری نبی ہیں، تو وہ ایک خاص استدلال کر رہے ہوتے ہیں ختم نبوت کی آیت سے. تو اس ختم نبوت کی آیت کا ان کی ایک تعویل اور ہے، ظاہر ہے کہ ہم اس کو ایک اور طرح سے سمجھتے ہیں. تو جب انٹرپریٹیشن کا اختلاف ہو جائے کسی چیز میں تو اس کو اسی تک رہنا چاہیے کہ یہ انٹرپریٹیشن کا اختلاف ہے، یہ تعبیر کا اختلاف ہے. اس میں اصل چیز استدلال ہے، اور استدلال کی جو محکم ہونا ہے اس کو دیکھنا چاہیے، اور اسی کو ہمیں فروغ دینا چاہیے. فتویٰ لگانا یا یہ کہنا کہ آپ ہرابے کے مرتکب ہو رہے ہیں، میرے خیال میں جہاں پہ تعویل زیر بحث ہو، جہاں پہ ڈسکشن ہو رہی ہو، وہاں یہ موضوع نہیں ہے.
جزاک اللہ صاحب. ایک چھوٹا سا توضیحی سوال بھی ہے، ون سیکنڈری کوشچن ایز ویل. جس طرح سے بھی آپ نے احمدیوں کے حوالے سے ایک پوائنٹ ریز کیا، تو ایک کوشچن میرے دماغ میں ہمیشہ گھومتا رہتا ہے، کیونکہ استاد امام کہتے ہیں اس بارے میں کہ آپ جو ہے وہ، کیونکہ تعویل، جو آپ نے تعویل کی بات کی، جیسے ہمارے بریلوی ہیں یا دیوبندی ہیں، تو یہ تعویل کی مختلف جو ہے وہ ان کی شکلیں ہیں نا. اگر میں جو ہے وہ
جی
دیوبندی کے پیچھے بھی نماز پڑھ سکتا ہوں، بریلوی کے پیچھے بھی پڑھ سکتا ہوں، بیکاز جب وہ نماز پڑھتے ہیں تو وہ اس وقت شرک نہیں کر رہے ہوتے. تو
صحیح.
کیا ہم احمدی کے پیچھے بھی نماز پڑھ سکتے ہیں؟
جی بالکل پڑھ سکتے ہیں. میری ذاتی رائے یہ ہے کہ چونکہ وہاں پہ ان کا جو عقیدہ ہے وہ ان کا پرسنل عقیدہ جس میں وہ کھڑے ہوئے ہیں، وہ آپ نماز وہاں پڑھ سکتے ہیں. صرف یہ معاملہ ہے، یعنی یہ میں آپ کو اس کی دین کی اسپرٹ بتا رہا ہوں، صرف یہ معاملہ ہے کہ جہاں پہ جیسے پاکستان جیسے ملک میں ان کو نان مسلم ڈکلیئر کر دیا گیا ہے، جن کو آپ کہہ سکتے ہیں کہ وہ تو اب نان مسلم اگر ایک کام یہ کر رہے ہیں تو یہ ان کے لیے ایک کلپیبل افینس بھی بن گئی ہے. وہ ظاہر اپنی مسجدوں میں اعلان اذان نہیں دے سکتے، نماز نہیں پڑھا سکتے. تو یہ ایک اب ظاہر ریاست سے متعلق بھی معاملہ ہو گیا. لیکن فرض کیجئے کہ اگر مجھے موقع ملے کہ میں یہ کسی کی نماز مجھے پڑھانی ہو یا پڑھنی ہو، یا نماز ویسے ہو رہی ہو تو پڑھنی ہو، تو میں ذاتی طور پہ اس کو درست سمجھتا ہوں.
میرا بھی کچھ اسی طرح کا رجحان رہا ہے. بہت شکریہ ڈاکٹر صاحب. تھینک یو سو ویری مچ فار یور کائنڈ آنسرز. تھینک یو.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Rahman Ahmed, please go ahead, and then we'll return back to chat questions.
Yeah, thank you. So, Dr. Saib, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayat 55, Allah says, "Innama waliyukumullah wa rasuluhu wallazina amanu allazina yuqimuna as-salata wa yu'tuna az-zakata wa hum raki'un." And so, Shia scholars say that they mix the whole translation of the later part of this ayah, and they say that those who give a zakat while they are in ruku, right? So, but in other interpretations, we find that which makes sense that translation is different. That those who give zakat and those who perform
kneel.
ruku. So yeah. So what is your opinion on that? I just wanted to get.
I mean, there's no question of a second opinion. I mean, Bahum Raki'un is an independent clause. It does not refer to zakat being given in the position of kneeling or when you are doing ruku. I mean, these are all separate things that are mentioned, and that is why the waw of ataf or waw of copulation, as it is said, has been mentioned here. So independent things are being coordinated to each other. So grammatically, yes, there is a relationship in which we call it a waw as haliya, which means that zakat is being given such that they are in a state of ruku. So yes, grammatically, it is one interpretation that is, I would say, linguistically possible. But as I said, because the way these things have been mentioned independently, separately, that who are the people who are the friends of God, then of course they are enumerated as the ones who pray, who give zakat, and who kneel. So I think it's a totally independent sentence. It is not a haliya sentence as is interpreted by our brothers. So that is my understanding, that it has nothing to do to paying zakat while kneeling.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our chat question asks, we recite the At-Tahiyyat and the Darood in Jalsa of the last rak'ah and the Tahiyyat in the Jalsa of the second rak'ah. What is the source of these du'as, and can we recite other du'as as well?
So we have been discussing this, that as far as the At-Tahiyyat position is concerned, which we call the Qarda, the sitting position which comes after the second and the fourth rakat. So this is a position in which, or this is a posture, I would say, in which any dua, any supplication can be made, even in your own language. You can of course say the At-Tahiyyat the way you have been learning it, but that is one recommendation. That's just one thing which the Prophet has taught. Otherwise, the whole of At-Tahiyyat can be uttered in your own language. You could be uttering anything of the nature of a supplication. It could be an expression of gratitude. It could be glorification of God. So both these postures, the second and the fourth rakat at-tahiyyat, have been reserved for things that you can say in your own language to God.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Our next question asks, what is the true manifestation of the ibadah? غير Allah ki ibadat kya hai? Is kissing some object or chanting some names or weeping included in ibadah? And how does an act become an ibadah?
You see, when you associate partners with God, other deities, and you think that they can have an influence on God in somehow or the other, so this is what we call that they're praying to other people as well, because they are worshipping other deities, because they think that these deities will have an influence of God on the day of judgment, and they will intercede, and the Quran says they will have the shafa done on behalf of these people, and then they will be able to gain from God whatever they desire. So this is what we call as the worship of individuals who are not God, because we would like to please them in order to reach God. So anything that we do which relates to the partners of God, by actually concocting these partners, because we know very well that He has no partner. So when we worship, we're not worshipping them the way we worship God, but we are actually giving them a status that they have a say before God. So therefore we actually supplicate before these deities so that they can go and ask God on our behalf. And this is what the idolaters of Mecca used to believe, of Arabia as well, that they thought that the angels are daughters of God. It has been mentioned in the Quran that the angels are daughters of God, and if they are able to please these angels and ask them to be their intercessors on the day of judgment, then they'll have their way. So this is what the ibadah of Ghairullah means.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Riyaz, you're up next. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahib.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Dr. Sahib, it says in the Quran, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. So, but what is the definition of munkar? Does it include, for example, the lying, and then the financial corruption, and the injustice? And if it means that, can we translate it that anyone who establishes the prayer will not do those things?
So you see, the word maruf and munkar, the way they have been used in the Quran, they do not refer to religious entities or religious realities or religious rituals in any way. They refer to, for example, maruf refers to universally accepted good morals, like truth, justice, fairness, kindness. And munkar is the opposite, which means that all universally accepted evils, that they are evils and they should not be indulged in, like you just said, corruption or dishonesty or injustice. So that is what is implied by the word maruf and munkar. And if this distinction is not made, then of course you'll end up adding a lot of other things to this list, which is of course not correct.
No, but this ayah, I mean, what is the translation would be, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i.
Yes, so it tells us that when you pray, so just as our conscience stops us from lying, it's like a mechanism that we have inbuilt, that when we do something bad, something universally accepted as an immoral practice, our conscience stops us. It's like a red light that lights up in our inner self, and it tells us that you're doing something wrong. So exactly in the same fashion, in the same manner, it is being said that your prayer stops you from these universal evils. That when you start praying and you are a person who prays, then whenever you do something which is against morality, which is munkar, then your prayer that you offered, you immediately are reminded that I was just in the presence of God and I should not be doing this. So it's like saying that just as your conscience stops you from injustices, in a similar way, the prayer itself is something which is a rehearsal of stopping you from any such evil acts.
So we cannot say that it is a litmus test that anyone who prays, he or she should not be doing.
Oh, I mean, you should take it in the meaning of conscience. I mean, what does a conscience do? It's a means of stopping you. It does not forcibly stop you. It does not, I mean, in any way catch you by the hand and say that you cannot do this. It's like a mechanism that sort of reprimands you. It scolds you that you should not do this. So that is exactly, it's like a reminder. What does the reminder do? It only reminds. It does not forcibly, catch a person by the hand and stop him. That's not how it works.
So is it the same thing when we say that the person who fasts, he will gain the taqwa? Is it similar thing then?
I mean, this is that's another thing. That's a positive thing, that if you are fasting, then God consciousness is something that will become part of your life. But here it is saying that there are many benefits of the prayer, the salah that you offer, and one of these benefits is that the inclination towards doing wrong things, it diminishes in you, and you are more inclined towards doing good things because your heart becomes inclined to that.
Naseem, you're up next. You can unmute yourself and ask your question. Oh, Javed, if you're around, please.
Excuse me. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum.
जी अस्सलामुअलैकुम जी डॉक्टर साहब, आपसे बात करके बहुत अच्छा लगता है हमें। वैसे हम ज़्यादा आपका बताना नहीं चाहते थे, मुख्तलिफ चीज़ें ऑलरेडी डिस्कस होती रहती हैं। बस एक चीज़ हमारे दिमाग में ही आती है कि हम इसमें डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे, सब चीज़ सबको मालूम है कि ये जब नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम मदीना पहुंचते हैं तो उन्हें ये बात पता चलती है और वो इन चीज़ों को आगे बढ़ाने की बात करते हैं। तो नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम तो दीन देने आते हैं, लोगों से दीन लेने तो नहीं आते। तो वो बताएंगे जो हमें मालूम है, अब इसको फॉलो करें। ये तो नहीं कह सकते कि जो आप फॉलो कर रहे हैं हम उसको मानेंगे, हम उसको फॉलो करेंगे। और फिर इनमें जो हदीसें हैं, जो बुखारी मुस्लिम की मुत्तफ़िक़ अलैह रिवायतें हैं, एक मक्का कुरैश के बारे में रिवायत हज़रत आयशा की है और एक अब्दुल्ला बिन अब्बास की रिवायत है, वो मदीने के बारे में है। दोनों रिवायतों सब लोग बाखूबी वाकिफ़ हैं, तो हम टाइम ज़्यादा नहीं लेंगे आपका। लेकिन बस एक चीज़ हमारे दिमाग में ये नहीं आती कि नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम को ये बात 8-9 साल के बाद पता चली कि जब तक अगर मैं जिंदा रहा तो मैं ये रोजे 2 रखूंगा, और हमें कहीं से भी कोई रिवायत ये नहीं मिलती कि नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने इस दिन रोजा रखा है बजाते खुद।
ये बहुत जी मैं खुद इस सवाल पर काफ़ी अरसे से गौर कर रहा हूँ। आपने बिल्कुल ठीक निशानदेही की है कि नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम जब मदीने में आए हैं तो ज़ाहिर है वो तो शुरू में उनको पता चल गया होगा कि यहूद रोज़ा रखते हैं, तो ये तो शुरू का ही वाक़या होना चाहिए और अगले साल उनको मौका मिलना चाहिए कि वो मौजूद होते और वो 2 रोज़े रखते। लेकिन जो रवायत में हमें मिलता है वो यही है कि वो बिल्कुल आखिरी उनका साल था, उसमें उनको ये सवाल पैदा हुआ। तो ये मेरे जहन में भी बहुत बात खटकती है। अलबत्ता ये बात कि उन्होंने रोज़ा रखा, ये तो दूसरी रवायात से साबित है, 10 मुहर्रम का उन्होंने रोज़ा रखा। लेकिन वो क्वेश्चन वही पैदा होता है जो आपने उठाया कि ये सवाल जो इस रवायत में पैदा हो गया, ये तो बहुत पहले पैदा हो जाना चाहिए था, ये तो आते ही पैदा हो जाना चाहिए था, क्योंकि अगर वो रोज़ा रख रहे हैं तो वहाँ पे यहूद तो मौजूद ही थे, उनके सामने ये तो नहीं कह सकता कि नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के सामने ये बात ही नहीं आई होगी। और ये सवाल भी नहीं समझ में आता कि बिल्कुल आखिर में जाके नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने इसको नोटिस किया होगा। तो रवायत का ये हिस्सा जो है ये वाकई काबिल गौर है, और इसमें यानी मैं कोई हतमी बात नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि मेरे जहन में बहुत बड़ी खटक है, लेकिन इससे कतई नज़र, यानी इससे कतई नज़र कि भाई ये वाक़या अगले साल से मुतालिक उन्होंने किया या नहीं किया, ये बात कि इंडिपेंडेंटली उन्होंने इस साल का रोज़ा रखा, चूँकि ये वो दूसरी रवायात से मुझे महसूस होता है कि ये वाक़या करीन क़यास है, तो इतनी बात तो दुरुस्त है। अलबत्ता वो जो दूसरी वाली बात है कि भाई अगले साल में मैं एक दिन का इजाफा कर लेता, तो वो उसकी तो नौबत नहीं आई। तो ये आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं कि इसको तो अवाइल ही में हो जाना चाहिए था। तो इतनी बात, इसी वजह से 9 मुहर्रम के बारे में हमारे यहाँ भी इख्तलाफ पाया जाता है कि 9वीं का रोज़ा रखा जाए कि नहीं। यही मेरी फाइंडिंग भी है।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर।
वालेकुम
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन सैयद साहब के बारे में है कि कब ये ड्यू हो जाता है। अक्सर मैं 2 रातों के बाद सजदा वो एहतियात बैठना भूल जाता हूँ, खड़ा होता हूँ तो फिर याद आता है, तो मैं कई बार अक्सर मैं क्योंकि थर्ड के बाद फिर वो एहतियात बैठ जाता हूँ, चौथी रात भी एहतियात बैठ जाता हूँ, और फिर मैं वो सजदा सब कर लेता हूँ। क्या दुरुस्त है या एक तो ये, और क्या मतलब, और कब कब सजदा, किन किन गलतियों से सजदा छोटी हो जाती है?
I think that the way I understand it has been explained by Ustaz Ghamidi in his Mizan, and I normally follow what he has explained, and he says that whenever you can make amends for anything that you have missed in your prayer, you make amends and you do sajda sahab. And when you cannot make amends, you just do sajda sahab. So any mistake, and the summary is that any mistake done in the prayer, if it can be rectified, then you rectify it and then do sajda sahab also. But if you cannot rectify it, then you just do sajda sahab. I think this is a principle that you can keep in mind regarding all sorts of mistakes that we do during the prayer.
Thank you, sir. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you very much. Dr. Saleem Naseem, please go ahead.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम। सॉरी मेरा माइक म्यूट था, इस वजह से मैं नहीं कर सका। मेरा सवाल ये शहजाद भाई कि फितना जो का लफ्ज़ इस्तेमाल हुआ है अरबी में कुरान में बेइंतहा जगह के ऊपर, खासतौर पे सूरह तौबा में तो कंटिन्यू आयतों में वो इस्तेमाल हुआ है, तो आम ट्रांसलेशन में तो उसको कह देते हैं फसाद, कि ये जो है फसाद। एक जगह और भी इस्तेमाल हुआ है, माल औलाद भी फितना है। बाज लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं, ये आजमाइश का इसके मायने हैं। तो फसाद तो कुरान में यूज हुआ है फसाद के लिए, तो ये फितना की सही मफहूम क्या होगा?
So you have to understand that the word fitna has been used variously in the Quran. I mean, a word has more than one meaning, and the word fitna has been used in more than one meaning. But in the sense that you are asking, I think if you refer to the exact verse, I can maybe be more specific in my answer. But generally, in such verses, the word fitna refers to persecution. Persecution means that you forcibly stop people from following religion. And so that is one context in which it has been used in Surah Tawbah, in Surah Baqarah, and in some other verses. But yes, it is also been used in the meaning of a trial, because fitna also means a trial. So it's not like a rule of thumb that you can fit in any meaning anywhere. It is the context that decides.
So it is a dual meaning.
It is a dual meaning.
ओके सो हम कॉन्टेक्स्ट से ये अंदाजा लगेंगे यहाँ पे क्या मफहूम है। ठीक है, ओके, शुक्रिया।
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. We'll come to chat questions, and after the chat questions, we'll begin the second round of questions. So our next chat question asks about combining prayers. If I'm driving and it's time for dhuhr, should I perform tayammum and pray while on the road, or delay the prayer until I can stop and pray it properly along with asr? Since these prayers can be combined, which option is better?
I think both options have been given by the Prophet, and any of the two can be benefited from, keeping in view the circumstances. Personally, I do prefer to pray on time. So if I get a chance to pray, I would not defer it to combine the prayer if I can help it. So because praying on time is also a big virtue, and the purpose of the prayer is to remember God at the time that have been stipulated. So but I don't say that this is a hard and fast rule, because the concession has also been given that you can either pray during, as you said, you do tayammum and you can pray while driving, or you can delay it and combine your zuhr with asr. So both are options, but if you ask me, I would recommend that praying on time, unless of course there is some other reason, should be the one perhaps that should be preferred.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, in Islam, we acknowledge that Prophet Muhammad holds a higher status than an ordinary believer, but where does his family members lie in the ranks in terms of their spiritual importance? So Ahlul Bayt, do they have a special religious status beyond that of a righteous Muslim, or are they considered like any other pious believer? And where does this status for them come from? Is it from because they're lineage from Prophet Muhammad, or does it come from the actions that they've done, or is it something from God?
So we have to understand that as far as sanctity is concerned, it is only the persons of the prophets of God who have any sanctity. After the prophets of God, every person, regardless of who he is, he could be the caliph, he could be a common person, he could be from the household of the prophet, they have, they have a status that is a non-prophetic status, I would say. So I use this term to specify the fact that any person who is not a prophet, does not have any status unless he's a righteous individual. And that righteousness is something that you have to earn. It's not by birth. It's not something that you have been given by God. You have to earn to become a righteous person. The concept has arisen amongst other reasons, I would say. Most of them, they pertain to some of the narratives that are found in Shiite and Sunni books, and also to a couple of verses of the Quran that have been interpreted in a different way. For example, we have the verse of Surah Ahzab which says Ahlul Bayt, and it addresses the household of the Prophet, and it says Yutahhirukum tathira, which means that God has given you these directives so that He purifies you, something to that extent. And from that has arisen this notion that perhaps the household of the Prophet is purer than the rest of human beings. As I said, this is a wrong interpretation of the verse. If you look at the verse, it clearly tells us that in Surah Ahzab, the matter is that the hypocrites were trying to scandalize the private lives of the wives of the Prophet so that they could bring down the repute of the Prophet. And for this, they would be doing all sorts of things. And in order to circumvent these subversive activities, the Almighty said to these wives of the Prophet that these hypocrites, they want to besmear you with filth, and God wants to purify you, and hence He has given you certain directives, like for example, you should not go out of your homes unless there is some very specific need. You should not talk to strangers in voices which are polite. So they were given a very, very strict set of directives so that these hypocrites who were trying to besmear the private lives of the wives of the Prophet would not be given a chance. And because this context was sacrificed, I would say, in interpreting this verse, that it became a source of regarding the household of the Prophet to be some pure individuals. So as I said, this is not purity by birth that is being mentioned. In fact, the context is entirely different. But other than that, as I said, that a person who is not a prophet is a person who can attain righteousness by sheer hard work, for example, by being a righteous person, by doing the right things, by doing good deeds. And that is something that you will have to earn. It's not something that is granted by God. God only grants you the status of prophethood, and He does so to prophets only. The rest are all equal, so to speak. They are the same category.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, can dua change your taqdeer?
It all depends what you mean by taqdeer. You see, the thing is that people think that there is something written down and everything has been destined. There is no such concept of destiny found in the Quran. The Quran says that everything is in the knowledge of God, which means that what you're going to do is known to Him. Not a single place has the Quran said that your destiny has been written down. So, for example, if you make dua, if you supplicate, it may well be that if you supplicate, you get what you want. And if you don't supplicate, you won't get what you want, because this is how God has intended some of the things to be given to you, that you ask and then He'll give. So I think that this is not correct to say that everything has been destined, everything has been written down, because this is a concept alien to the Quran. The Quran only says that God has knowledge of what you do. He knows what is in the future. He would know what you would be doing. So what you do is going to have an impact on your future. And hence we can say that it's not that our future has been written down the way people think that it has been written down.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleem. Since we have a lot of chat questions, if you've double posted multiple questions, I can only take 2 questions from you at this rate. So I'm just letting you guys know in advance. The next question asks, is there any Islamic way, to overcome from overthinking? The origin of my disorder is going too deep in the disputed and diverse rulings of Islam. Now I have become hypersensitive with regards to all social and family issues, assuming everyone is a threat to me and I'm a threat to everyone. And because of overthinking, I fear that I can't live a happy life with friends and family. And if you could please answer this in order.
तो ये जो ओवर थिंकिंग होती है असल में इट नीड्स टू बी आई वुड से पर्सन नीड्स मेडिकल अटेंशन आई वुड से यानी ये एक OCD का डिसऑर्डर होता है और आप इससे अगर डॉक्टर से मशवरा करेंगे तो आपको ऐसी दवाएं दे सकते हैं जो केमिकल इम्बैलेंस को दूर करती है जिसकी वजह से ये प्रॉब्लम पैदा होती है। तो मैं ये कहूँगा कि ये बुनियादी तौर पे मेडिकल साइंस का रेल्म है, ये उनका सफ़ेयर है। सो यू हैव टू कंसल्ट अ गुड डॉक्टर, तो आपको इस मामले में सही रहनुमाई देगा। आपको बहुत सारी दवाएं हैं जो नॉन एडिक्टिव हैं एंड दे कैन सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम। इसके अलावा मज़हबी लिहाज से आप दुआ कर सकते हैं। एक बड़ी खूबसूरत दुआ है, नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने सिखाई है कि आऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिन शुरूरि अनफुसिना, कि अल्लाह ताला मुझे मेरे नफ्स की जो शरारतें हैं इससे मुझे बचा के रख। तो ये एक दुआ है जो आप कर सकते हैं। इसके अलावा दीन के मामले में ये जहन में रखिएगा कि अल्लाह ताला जो हैं वो धींगा मुश्ती पसंद नहीं करते। इसका मतलब ये है कि आप जब तक होता है ना कि इंसान महसूस करता है कि जब तक वो एक अल्टीमेट लेवल पे दीनी काम ना कर ले तो शायद कबूल नहीं होगा। वो वज़ू करना शुरू करता है तो वज़ू ख़त्म नहीं होता, नमाज़ शुरू करता है तो उसका ख्याल है कि नमाज़ उसने परफेक्शन में नहीं पढ़ी हुई। तो ऐसे लोग जो इस चीज़ से सफ़र कर रहे हैं उनको मैं ये मशवरा देता हूँ कि आप जो मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट है रिलीजन की वो आप अगर पूरी करते हैं तो अल्लाह ताला इस कंडीशन में इंशाअल्लाह आपकी हर इबादत को कबूल कर लेगा, क्योंकि ये आपके बस में नहीं है। और जो चीज़ बस में नहीं होती वहाँ अल्लाह ताला की रहमत ज़रूर दामनगीर होती है। लेकिन जो मेरी पहली बात है वो उसको ज़रूर सोचिएगा कि ये बुनियादी तौर पे एक डॉक्टर का काम है कि वो आपकी जो थेरेपी करे। इस मामले में साइकोथेरेपी भी काम आ सकती है। तो दोनों रेलम्स हैं, साइकोथेरेपिस्ट भी काम कर सकते हैं और साइकियाट्रिस्ट भी काम कर सकते हैं। सो दोनों को आप ट्राई करके देखिएगा और कुछ दुआएं कीजिए, उम्मीद है मामला बेहतर हो जाएगा।
Ameen, inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, what's the process of offering sajdat as-suhu for previous prayers?
So you see, there's not been anything explicitly mentioned either in the Quran or the Prophet regarding prayers that have been missed. So it's like saying that, well, let's say I'm at the age of 40, 45 and I realize suddenly that I've missed a lot of prayers. So on an equal footing, remember you must have missed a lot of fasts also, and you might have missed paying zakat also for many, many years. So you see, it's like a question of thinking that how I can make amends. And I think personally that when you realize in your middle ages that you have not been very regular in your worship rituals, perhaps the best way is to seek God's forgiveness and start on that.
जी, अस्सलाम वालेकुम डॉक्टर साहब। डॉक्टर साहब, I wanted to ask how what is your opinion about these narratives which say that Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was given the knowledge of the martyrdom of Hazrat Imam Hussain and how he would be assassinated or murdered and how his family would be killed by a visiting angel, and that he was also told where this would happen, like in Karbala. How do you see these narratives? Are they trustworthy? And also, if these narratives are true and this actually did happen and the Prophet knew about it, and obviously he told somebody because of which we know now today, it must mean that it was common knowledge during the Prophet's time that this incident has happened, and an angel has come to the Prophet to give him this sad news.
I have not fully researched on these narratives, but the little I have read about them is that they are not very authentic, and they have not been reported soundly. But nevertheless, I would like you to send me a couple of those narratives. They're Arabic texts. I can re-examine them. But many years ago, I did go through some of them, and I do remember that they were not very authentic. But nevertheless, I would still like to double check. So if you have those texts with you, please send them to me.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Dr. Riaz Ahmed, please go ahead, and then we'll come to all the chat questions that we have.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम
मैं आपसे मालूम करना चाहता था कि वो आपने एक दफ़ा जिक्र किया था कि हदीस के बारे में हम एक किताब इंग्लिश में उर्दू में भी वो मुरतब कर रहे हैं। अगर वो मुरतब हो गई हो तो मुझे उसका नाम वो बता दें, गाइड कर।
जी, वो किताब आजकल छप रही है। उसके दो हिस्से हैं। एक हिस्सा वो है कि जो मुस्बत रवायात पर है, उसको इल्मुन नबी का नाम दिया गया है, और वो आजकल मेरे ख्याल चंद माह में आ जाएगी। उसकी पहली वॉल्यूम, ज़ाहिर है उसकी बहुत सारी वॉल्यूम्स होंगी। और एक उसका दूसरा हिस्सा वो है जो वो रवायात हैं जो निकाल दी गई हैं या जो काबिल तनकीद हैं और जिन पर तनकीद की गई हैं। तो वो भी 3 जिल्दों, उसकी भी कई जिल्दें होंगी, लेकिन उसकी फ़िलहाल 3 जिल्दें तैयार हैं और वो भी प्रेस को दे दी गई है। तो ये आइंदा चंद माह में ये दोनों आ जाएंगे, यानी एक की एक जिल्द आएगी और दूसरी कैटेगरी की 3 जिल्दें आ जाएंगी।
इसमें सारी हमारी जो साहित्य है उसकी आदीस को सबको इसमें शामिल किया गया है।
मैं समझा नहीं, आपकी दोबारा बताइए।
कि इस्तेहाय सिता जो 6 किताबें हमारी अहादीस
जी।
की हैं, उसमें सारी अहादीस जो हैं वो इसमें आ जाती हैं इल्मुन नबी में।
इससे भी ज़्यादा, सिहासिता से भी ज़्यादा किताबों को इंक्लूड किया गया है। इस वक्त कुल जो रवायात का हमारे पास सरमाया है वो लगभग 90,000 का है। 90,000 रवायात हैं, उनमें से कुछ तो वो भी हैं। सो मेरे इल्म की हद तक जो जो नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि काम होने वाला है जिन पे 90,000 रवायात, जितना हो गया हुआ है तकरीबन वो 25 से 30,000 पे हुए काम हुआ है। एक तिहाई से भी कम काम हुआ है, और इस एक तिहाई को काम करने में भी लगभग 8 साल 7 साल हो गए हैं। सो ये कुछ नहीं कहा जा सकता, क्योंकि ये जो शुरू का हिस्सा था इसमें रवायात का हुजम भी कम था। तो बाज़ दफ़ा ऐसा होता है कि रवायत छोटी होती है लेकिन टेक्स्ट लंबा होता है। इसलिए अब 15-20 साल अगर ज़िंदगी रही, वरना फिर बाद में आने वाले लोग। जी
अल्लाह ताला को से
Thank you very much. Our next chat question asks, it said that if someone offers 2 rak'ahs a prayer in the Quba mosque, he or she gets rewarded as if they performed an umrah. Is this true?
This is not a very sound narrative. I've just recently checked its authenticity. It's not correct. You just cannot give this is a primary rule as well. I mean, not only the isnad of narrative is not very sound, the other primary rule of regarding the content evaluation is that when you start being informed of the fact that you'll be given extraordinary reward for things that they are not as extraordinary, that would not make sense. Of course, unless of course there is an exception to it, like we know that regarding praying in the Prophet's mosque or in the Kaaba or in Jerusalem, that carries special reward. So those are authentic, I would say, narratives. But this particular narrative is not sound at all.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. Next question asks, is Iqama part of the established Sunnah?
Yes, it is. I was asked this question earlier on. I had sought some time and have done my research. Yes, Iqama is part of the established Sunnah.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, they wanted to ask you a general question about how do you feel when you or the entirety of the GCIL team are blamed personally by scholars rather than by giving a scholarly critical argument, and they hope that may Allah grant you for it. But how are you all so calm about it, and if it's possible to meet you in Pakistan?
I mean, yes, we are all accessible. Any one of us can be met, and I mean, you see, we have to understand that that we are responsible before God on the basis of our understanding. I am not responsible for any other person's understanding. So if I am satisfied that I have done my due diligence and I have done my best to understand a Quranic verse or a hadith, while admitting the fact that I could be wrong, but at the moment I think that this is how things stand. So that is what gives us that calmness, and it does not in any way agitate us or make us angry. Why should it? Because you see, people have made this a habit that they start judging people by their own standards. This is a basic thing that we have to understand, that we might have some objective standards, and we might have standards in which we, even having them as objective, when we apply them, we come out with different results, and that is how human beings work. So we need to understand that this basically results from a different mindset in which you apply the same principles, but you come up with a different answer. And so therefore I think we should not judge people in this matter and leave their matter to God. And always pray for people that whatever they sincerely believe, they'll be judged on that basis, even if that understanding is incorrect, because they did their best, they tried their best, and that is what God wants us to do. He just wants us to not fail in this endeavor to find out the truth. And endeavor is, the effort has to be made. The result of that effort does not matter as such.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, how many umrahs can be performed during the visit for Hajj?
Well, the way the Quran has mentioned Umrah and Hajj, that is that if you do so in the same journey, then you'll be penalized. That is what we normally do, that we offer Hajj and Umrah in the same journey, and the sacrifice that we offer, the animal sacrifice on Hajj, is because of this penalty. So this shows that the Quran discourages us to have multiple Umrahs or even one Umrah in the same journey as Hajj. It wants us to visit the house of God separately for Hajj and for Umrah. Yes, only when there is inconvenience or impossibility, or as you know that the population of Muslims has arisen so much that it's virtually very difficult for you to go twice at times. So that's like a second choice that you have, that you combine the Umrah with the Hajj. Otherwise, if you have an option, the understanding that we gain from the Quran is that we should separately do Umrah and Hajj. Go there separately for both these rituals.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The next question asks, what are the things that Allah does not grant without dua?
That Allah needs to be asked.
Thank you. Then the question after that asks, my observation is that the higher the skill of a politician, journalist, artist, or religious scholar, the less popularity they tend to achieve. How does religion view this, and what is your personal opinion?
I think this is a question that relates to common sense, experience, and practice, and people can have different opinions, and I am not an expert. This is not the realm of religion, so I would suggest that you confine your questions that relate to my area of expertise. Otherwise, this is like a general discussion. I can have an opinion, you can have an opinion, and that is fine.
We just got a raised hand. So
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to say thank you so much. You do such a good moderating job. You're so good. The calm you keep and the way you run this is really impressive. Just wanted to say thank you, Minnie.
Thank you, Mariam.
I am
Yes.
very, very honored. I think it's Dr. Saleem's demeanor that helps me. He's into these things.
No, I think we would reinforce what Siddiqa has said, that you conduct these sessions very efficiently, and we are not only proud of you, but we also think that you're doing a splendid job.
So much, Dr. Saleem. I'm very honored. Thanks all so much. And thanks for the participants for coming through and, being very, very patient with me. I know I send you a lot of chats at times. So I appreciate you all being so good with the timing and being concise with your questions.